You're listening to the Launchcast, your favorite podcast on the planet, brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios with me, your host, George Andriopoulos. We're talking leadership, business, life, and growth right now as the countdown starts.
It's like food for your ears.
At this time, I'm going to ask that you fasten your seatbelts.
Launch sequence.
Launch sequence activated.
Launch sequence activated.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Woo! Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Launchcast. Episode 403, another tiny soapbox show. This one is called Stand Up and Speak, and we're going to talk about some stuff today. I'm going to keep this one short, guys. We have a great interview next week coming up, which I'll tell you about later. But first, some business to take care of. It's the Launch Dad himself, George Andriopoulos, bringing you your favorite podcast on the planet. Leadership, business, life, growth, right now, as the beat drops. What is happening, my friends? Another episode. George Andriopoulos back for 403 here. We haven't done a tiny soapbox show yet this season. I'm going to keep it brief. It's not going to be too long. We usually do these in 20 minutes or under. Hopefully we're way under this week. I got some news for y'all. and I want to share it. I've been talking about it a little bit here and there, but this is like the big announcement episode. So it's a big deal. This comes at a momentous time. This is dropping this Monday on Halloween, October 31st. So if you're listening to this years from now and this is no longer timely, I'm so sorry, but at least you'll find out about the beginnings of something really, really cool that is going on. So let me tell you what's happening. So you guys know me, the Launch Dad here at Launchpad 516 Studios and Launchpad 516, the parent company of this whole thing, the consulting firm. It's been a journey, man. It's been a journey all these years, and I'm going to tell you how this all kind of came about. I started Launchpad 516 back in 2013. So coming up now, we're getting to the end of 2022. It is almost our 10-year anniversary, and that'll be a whole other thing next year. But this company has afforded me some very cool opportunities. And I'm going to tell you why I've shifted some of these opportunities. So I started Launchpad in 2013. It was me and a part-time assistant renting 2 desks in somebody else's office. And it was a messy office, and it was garbage bags on one side of the office, and it was a disaster, but my half was nice and tidy because that's who I am. And we worked our asses off, and we built this thing, this Launchpad 516 company, into something that I am so, so proud of. This is a legacy that I could never have imagined, especially from my beginnings. Having lived a life in my first, at that time, 30 plus years, that was at times brilliant and at times so wasteful and stupid and a lot of in the middle there. I didn't really know what the direction was going forward. I had just come off a really bad time in my life, divorce and career ruin, the whole thing. It was such a mess. And I focused for a couple of years on just kind of rebuilding me, getting back to the person I always used to be, focusing on my family and building from there. And then when the professional side of things kicked in, and I'm sorry if you've heard this 100 times before the story, but it's very meaningful to me. Excuse me. I started this company, and the goal was nothing fancy, no fancy campaigns to show people we do something that we don't, and just putting glitz and glamour on it. We worked our asses off to make sure that we did good work, built a good reputation for this company, and let that speak for itself. And that's what happened. And we grew and we grew and we grew. And in the first year or two, it was tremendous growth that put us in the position to kind of keep shifting, keep evolving, keep growing. And I did that, and we grew, and we had a couple of offices in that original location, and then a second location. And then in 2016, within 3 years, we are here in my beautiful office here on Route 110 in Farmingdale, New York, my hometown. And this was the realization of something really big for me. The story behind this office was when I started growing in the first few months, and we realized that we needed more office space, this office was actually available for rent. And in no way, shape, or form was I in a position to be able to afford that at that time. And so I put that to the side. And then a couple of years later, when we moved to our second location and things started getting much bigger, again, this was available when we were looking for that second location. And I said to myself, this thing is available, and we're not there yet, but maybe one day. We had to focus on multiple locations at that time. And then we started growing more. We were outgrowing that second space. We still had our original first space just so that we can keep a location here on Long Island. And then I just happened to put the feelers out there, and this space was available. And I took it, and I knew that it was meant to be. It was kismet for me to be here. And I looked at this space, and what people see now, right now, the signage, the creativity, the vibe in this place, I literally saw it on day one. This was a blank canvas, and I could see everything. And I worked my ass off to make this a reality here. And what this did was this put us in the position now for this company to operate, Launchpad 516, right? Because business owner tip here, if you're going to operate a company with multiple revenue streams, keep growing, keep diversifying those revenue streams so that if one thing fails, you can fall back on another thing. You're not relying on one thing as a business owner. And so we were able in this office finally to get creative, to look at the production side of things and what we do. And we kept evolving. I've talked about this a lot, kept evolving. We started dropping services that didn't serve us anymore in the management consulting company. The marketing company was doing really cool, fun projects. And then the pandemic gave clarity for a lot of things. In the interim, as the company was growing, I started growing my public speaking career. I'm keynoting all over the place. Manhattan, I'm traveling the country keynoting, which is so much fun, years ago. And I dove into this whole TED platform. I wanted to do a TEDx talk, and then I wanted to get on the main stage, and I had these big goals. And I did that first TEDx talk, and I wanted more, and I kept diving in, and I was learning about the platform. And eventually I became a TEDx organizer, and I started executive producing TEDx Farmingdale. And continuing on this journey while running my businesses, it started sort of aligning these different missions. And the mission of Launchpad was always to help organizations and individuals with the tools, help provide, wow, did I just have a brain fart? Providing organizations and individuals with the tools they need to succeed and thrive. And that mission never changed. And as we sort of kept evolving and pivoting and evolving and pivoting, new things fell into my lap that I could do. Other business ventures, and some failed and some didn't fail. And I always knew that this one annoying thing I always did, which was to produce this TEDx Farmingdale event, and that I loved and hated and made me so emotional in so many different ways. Hated because putting a big event on is a pain in the ass, but loved it because of working with the speakers and collaborating and just rocking that creativity constantly. It was so much fun. It fueled me, kept me younger. You know what I mean? It kept me in that creative space, that state of flow that is so hard to get. And I kept going and I kept going. And last year I made a realization. I was wrapping up TEDx Farmingdale 2021. we're finally coming out of the pandemic. I'm opening the office back up again. It was a really momentous time for us, having survived the pandemic, which is a big enough deal right there. And I knew that my TEDx journey was coming to an end. I knew that the mission wasn't aligning with the TED mission exactly. I knew that I had had this inkling of an idea when I first moved into this office to do a unique speaking event. I just couldn't see it yet. I did come up with the name back in 2016, which is crazy that the name stuck. And after TEDx Farmingdale 2021, I sat down and I started to work on the idea for this new speaking platform. And a year later, the wheels are moving. Everything is sort of in motion to get this thing up and running. It was becoming a reality. I had clarity a few months ago that gave me the final pieces of what I needed to build this thing, and I built it. And I have since brought on partners, which that announcement will come on social media soon of who they are. I've since brought on partners that I'm super excited about to work with, and we booked our first event for November 17th right here in Farmingdale. And although this is a global platform that's going to be all over the world, I wanted to make sure that the first one was here. And this isn't just one of those hometown things that I always say. It's also easier to manage as I'm running my businesses and taking care of my family and putting together TEDx Farmingdale 22 that we just wrapped up a few weeks ago. And so everything sort of started coming together. This clarity was there, and TEDx Farmingdale 2022 legacy came and went, and we had an incredible time, and I'm still producing those videos to put out there, but that's where my commitment ends. And so this was a moment for me that kind of stood out, because I knew that I had finally wrapped that TED journey in my life. I knew that I had given everything I could to this platform. And what does that include? 3 TEDx talks of my own. 3 TEDx talks of my own. I am so proud of every one of those talks. And even though I don't love the delivery of all of them, I'm still proud of what they stand for and the work that I put into them. And now a word from our sponsors. Well, that's a nice song. Hey, everybody. It's me, the launch dad himself, George Andriopoulos, the host of the Launchcast, the co-host of Over My Dad podcast. But more importantly, I'm here today on behalf of Launchpad 516 Studios, the podcast production company that makes those 2 shows, the one you're listening to now, and so many others possible. Now, what is Launchpad 516 Studios? Well, it's the brainchild of Launchpad 516. It's a podcast production company, and we help you from conceptualization to production to recording to post-production to monetization. The key word here, let's turn that hobby, that idea into a revenue stream. But more importantly, let's get that important idea out there and get your voice heard, because that's what matters right now. Hit us up, launchpad516studios.com to find out more information, or send us an email, podcast@lp516.com. DM me at LaunchpadCEO on all the platforms. Let's chat. Let's get your voice heard. We're pretty good at this, guys. Don't let this offer slip by you. Later, guys.
Hi there, I'm Lainey.
And I'm Estella. And we're interrupting this podcast because we have a question for this audience.
Do you or someone you know live with a disability or a chronic condition?
If yes, you're not alone. 1 in 5 people in the U.S. do.
We're the hosts of the Embrace It podcast, where we share tips, tools, and inspiration for everyday living with all types of disabilities.
Our interviews with badass disability advocates will boost your confidence in all areas of life, including travel, fashion, relationships, career, and more.
So walk or roll on over to your favorite podcast player and subscribe to Embrace It with Lainey and Estella.
And now back to the show you were listening to. Another great show produced by Launchpad 516 Studios.
You're listening to the Launchcast, produced by Launchpad 516 Studios, with me, your host, the Launch Dad himself, George Andriopoulos. So, let's list what I've given to this platform. 3 TEDx talks of my own. I have executive produced 4 TEDx Farmingdale events. I have co-produced 2 TEDx Women events, of which I actually just did some work out in my office in the other studio earlier today with my friend Natalie, who produces TEDx Deer Park Women. And so I just wrapped up that commitment today. I have emceed 2 TEDx events, including TEDx Farmingdale 2022 this past October, and one of the TEDx Deer Park events I emceed as well. And so all of those things, having put over 80 people on the TEDx stage in total, over 1 million views on our TEDx Farmingdale videos, and I am one humbled and lucky son of a gun. But I'm ready to move on. And what made me ready to move on was that I saw that some of these talks I was producing, some of these speakers that were applying for my other events, that I couldn't put on the event because they didn't fit, whether it was our theme or the guidelines of the platform or whatever. I noticed that this was a little problematic for me. And I'm not going to get into the weeds on this. You want to have a private conversation, reach out to me about this stuff. But I just knew that there was a gap out there. I knew that there was something important that I could do to help fill that gap, to create a platform that was inclusive of all speaking communities and all communities affiliated with the speaking world. I knew that I could create a platform that didn't put speakers in so much of a box, but in a way that still remains safe and not allowing dangerous talks to get out there. And so this concept of Speak came about. And we built the business model, we built the whole thing, we designed the first event. And I have to say, I am so proud of what we have put together. And I know that my partners and I are going to go out there and we are going to change the world with Speak. And I cannot begin to thank all the people that have supported me and us through this time period, and will continue to over the next year and a half, which is our most crucial period of building this thing. Our plan is, well, let me back up. Speak will eventually be a main stage show that is annual. That will be 2024, spring of 2024. In order to get to that, we're going to have pop-up shows. And the plan is to have at least 75 pop-up shows next year. Each pop-up show consists of 10 speakers, 1 microphone, 1 stage, giving their Speak Talks. Now, what is a Speak Talk? A Speak Talk is a 6 to 10 minute talk that is presented in a storytelling format. So these are very comfortable. They're very conversational. It's like you're listening to a good friend tell a story. These talks have 3 unique identifying moments in them. Now, these could be ideas or they can just be stories that create an impact. These 3 identifying moments are the moment of truth, the moment of transformation, and the moment of impact. Those 3 unique identifying moments, along with the passion of these speakers, we hope will create such an impact for our audience, engaging and entertaining and meaningful. And that's the most important thing besides starting conversations. Starting conversations is what we want to come out of these talks. And so you say, hey, if there are less rules, how can you avoid putting something dangerous on there? Well, simple. It's an invite-only platform. We are vetting our speakers. And when I say invite only, it doesn't mean it's exclusive necessarily. It's very inclusive, but we want to be careful of the talks that go on stage. Now, How do we determine if something is a dangerous talk? Well, we have a committee internally that will review each talk that is pitched to us. If a talk is marked as dangerous, and you're smart people, you can fill in the blanks out there. You know what a dangerous talk is versus a divisive or polarizing talk, right? But if a talk is polarizing, that's okay. That's interesting. That could spark a conversation. So when a talk is polarizing, it falls under what's called the duality rule. Now, the duality rule is so much fun, and I'm so excited about this. The duality rule says that if our approval committee determines that a talk is polarizing or divisive, more so polarizing than divisive, then it falls under the duality rule. The producer of the event, of which there will be a different one for each event, these producers will apply to us to host events. The producer of the event is charged with the duality rule. And the duality rule says that if you, as the producer, want to put this divisive talk, this polarizing talk, on stage, then you must put the equal and opposite talk on stage right next to it. Same subject matter, opposite opinion. Now, these talks have to be well thought out. If they are an idea, let's say, it'd be well thought out and researched if you're going in that direction for a talk rather than just a story that you're telling. And as long as an opinion is researched and thought out and has some factual evidence behind it, it can go on stage. And it will go on stage next to the opposing opinion. And the hope there is that those audience members will leave, having been bettered for hearing those two opinions, and can understand people with different opinions. That's the most important thing. So where do these talks go from there? Now, this is the big deal here. We are putting all our chips in the audio format. Now, we are also recording these in video, and we are still sort of figuring that out, so come back to me later with this. But we're putting all our chips in the audio format right now. Once our first couple of events happen, we will be introducing at Launchpad 516 Studios the Speak Podcast. And the Speak Podcast is where every one of these talks will premiere before they are released publicly for sharing on YouTube or whatever the formats are that we're going to be sharing them on. This podcast is going to be incredible. So if you don't get to attend Speak shows, you will be able to jump onto this podcast to hear these incredible talks, and each episode will be very carefully curated to mix up talks from different shows. And I'm just so excited about this. Now, where do we go from there? Well, the main stage, baby, right? We have a goal. We're thinking Madison Square Garden. We're thinking Nassau Coliseum, UBS Arena, something like that. We want to go big in 2024. And if we can put together 75 to 100 shows next year, we will absolutely have a main stage event, 10,000 people in an arena watching incredible talks. Those talks are going to be people that have spoken at Speak pop-ups before. You have to have spoken at a pop-up in order to apply to speak on the main stage. There are plenty of other things happening. We have a program called Speak at Work where we'll be holding Speak events at private companies or public companies that are looking to hold culture building events or team building events. We're going to be hosting Speak events there. We're also going to have a nonprofit arm eventually, but we're going to start the program up right from the onset called Speak Education, where we do these events at schools and colleges. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this and how happy I am that I get to work with incredible people that make me so happy. Right now, we are in the midst of almost launching our first event, which is November 17th. You can visit speakevent.com for tickets to that. There are a few tickets available. We already started selling them, and we're well on our way. And that's going to be the prototype, that event. So anyway, we're going to move on from this. I just wanted to share this news with you guys. Visit speakevent.com. You could follow Speak at Speak Event, I believe, at Speak Event on social media, and at Speak_event on Twitter. The other IG and Facebook are at Speak Event. And check out what we're doing. Visit the website for an event coming near you. We're going to have a locator with a map there where you can put your zip code in, find an event near you. We will be booking the next dozen or so Speak events in the coming month. And so I'm very excited about that. And I want to tell you something before I close. I am so lucky and privileged to get to do what I do for a living, whether it's Launchpad, whether it's Speak, any of my other business ventures. I am so lucky and privileged to do that. And it's because I get to meet incredible people day after day that are world changers, speakers, business owners, individuals, leaders, people that I interview. I didn't even mention today, Launchpad 516 Studios, the podcast production company. Everything we do is about providing individuals and organizations with the tools to succeed and thrive, no matter what platform we are using. That is the mission of anything under the Launchpad 516 umbrella, including this podcast and all the podcasts that we produce. I am so lucky to work with incredible people day after day. This speaking thing took on a life of its own. I started in the speaking world as a way to grow my own business, and man, did I fall in love with it. Not only speaking myself, but producing events. And what we're going to do with Speak is going to be very special. And you're watching this from the ground up. So I'm excited that you get to see this growth and hear what we're going to do. And for those of you out there looking to do something, whether it's get up on a Speak stage, give a TEDx talk, start your own business, become a community leader, whatever it is, man, I'm going to tell you that my experiences through life have taught me that life is too precious to not stand up and speak when it is time. Life is too precious to not stand up and speak when it's time. We are given one life. We are given one place to live. We have to respect it, respect where you live, respect the people you live with, the people you live around, the earth, just respect your life and help to make other people's lives better. And sometimes we need to stand up and speak in order to do that. This platform, Speak, is an opportunity for public speakers out there to do that. This podcast, this production company is an opportunity for people to do that. But you don't need these kind of tools to create that change. I've seen a lot of people, even in my life, that have tried bullying their way through getting what they want. And we can't stand for that. We have to stand up and speak when it's time to put those bullies to rest and make real progress in this world. And I leave you with that. I appreciate you all. I can't wait till you hop on next week's episode, by the way. Next week, 404 with David Corbin, the man himself. Incredible interview. I can't wait till you hear it. I recorded it the other day, and man, I'm super stoked about it, and I'm just gushing here. I'll see you next time, guys. Later.
Launch sequence terminated.
Into the black hole. Into the black hole.
The Launchcast is brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios, produced by Fabrizio Fugazi and executive produced by George Andriopoulos. Marketing and PR by Media Convergence. Theme song by Tommy Lungberg. Music and sound effects are licensed through Epidemic Sound. The Launchcast is hosted with Podbean. Make sure to subscribe to this feed wherever podcasts are available and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts while you're at it, guys. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Podbean, and everywhere else that podcasts are available. Follow me, George Andriopoulos, the host, at Launchpad CEO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or follow the show at The Launchcast Show on Facebook and Instagram, or at Launchcast Show on Twitter. Visit our website, thelaunchcast.com, and make sure to follow all the great podcasts produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. We'll see you next time, guys.